The old house loomed, its silhouette a dark stain against the twilight sky. A Gothic monument to forgotten sins and buried secrets. Amelia, young and unburdened by the past, now stood as its mistress, her heart a mix of trepidation and curiosity. A vast inheritance, a sprawling estate in the secluded English countryside, far from the bustling cities and prying eyes. It had belonged to her family for centuries, a legacy passed down through generations. Now it was hers to uncover. The air hung heavy, thick with the perfume of decay and the weight of untold stories. Dust motes danced in the pale light, filtering through grimy windows, casting eerie shadows on the walls. A silence, deep and unsettling, pressed in on her, amplifying every creak and whisper of the old house. It felt less like a home, more like a tomb, a resting place for memories long forgotten. Amelia stepped inside, her footsteps echoing in the vast emptiness. A shiver ran down her spine, a cold reminder of the house's eerie presence. The shadows seemed to deepen, reacting to her presence as if the house itself was aware of her intrusion. "It's all right," she whispered, her voice a thin tremor in the silence. "Just an old house," she tried to convince herself. But deep down she knew it was more than that, much more. The house held secrets, and she was determined to uncover them. The mansion held secrets, whispered tales passed down through generations. Of a distant ancestor, a man consumed by ambition, he craved power, wealth, and immortality. The stories spoke of a forbidden ritual, a pact made with an entity from beyond. The ancestor got his wish. Wealth and influence flowed. Years turned into decades, then centuries. He lived on, his life unnaturally prolonged. But whispers hinted at a terrible price. The entity, they said, always collected its due. Amelia dismissed them as folklore, old wives' tales meant to scare children. Yet, as days turned into nights, she felt a presence in the mansion, a coldness that seeped into her bones, a sense of being watched, scrutinized by unseen eyes. One night, the silence shattered. A bone-chilling wail echoed through the mansion. Amelia sat bolt upright in her bed, heart pounding. It was a sound filled with an ages-old pain, a raw and desperate yearning. She found the source in the mansion's grand ballroom, a cold spot even by the room's already frigid temperature, and there, hovering in the dimness, a figure manifested. Translucent, shimmering, a being woven from shadows and moonlight. The debt, the figure rasped, its voice a hollow whisper. "It must be paid." Amelia stumbled back, fear clawing at her throat. The entity turned its spectral gaze upon her. "You carry his blood, you inherit his debt." Terror threatened to consume her, but Amelia, despite her fear, possessed a steely resolve. She wouldn't succumb to panic. She would uncover the truth behind her ancestors' bargain and find a way to break free. She immersed herself in the mansion's library. Dusty tomes and forgotten journals became her companions. She pored over ancient texts, deciphering faded script and cryptic entries. The more she learned, the more disturbed she became. Her ancestor hadn't just stumbled upon a powerful entity. He had actively sought it out, delving into forbidden magic. He had offered something precious in exchange for his desires. And the debt, she discovered, was far more sinister than she could have imagined. Days turned into weeks. Amelia slept little, haunted by the entity's pronouncements and her own growing dread. The mansion felt alive, every creak of the floorboards, every rustle of leaves outside her window, whispering of her impending doom. One afternoon, her gaze fell upon a portrait. It depicted a beautiful woman, her eyes filled with a haunting sadness. This was the ancestor's wife, Amelia realized. A woman erased from history, her fate unknown. As Amelia stared at the portrait, she felt a cold hand grip her heart. The entity had spoken of a debt, a price to be paid. What if it wasn't material wealth or worldly power that it craved? What if it demanded something far more personal? Section 6: Descent into Darkness. Panic welled within her. Amelia delved deeper into her research, her desperation growing with each passing hour. The mansion seemed to press in on her, the shadows deepening, the air growing colder. She unearthed a hidden chamber deep within the mansion, a room dedicated to the ancestors' dark rituals, symbols etched into the floor, strange artifacts scattered on a stone altar. The air crackled with residual energy, and there, Amidst the arcane paraphernalia, she found it. A journal bound in human skin, the ancestor's own account of his bargain. His confessions chilled her to the bone. He hadn't just made a deal with the entity, he had sacrificed something precious to secure his desires. Section 7, A Pact Revealed. His wife, the love of his life, was the price he was willing to pay. He had offered his wife's soul in exchange for his own desires, a decision that would haunt generations. The entity, a being of immense power but bound by ancient laws, could only claim a soul freely given, a soul offered without coercion. The ancestor, consumed by his ambition and blinded by his greed, had tricked his wife, manipulating her love and trust to secure his own immortality. The journal detailed the ritual, the betrayal, the wife's heart-wrenching pleas for mercy, and the dark magic that bound her soul. Amelia could almost hear her ancestors' anguished cries echoing within the chamber walls, a chilling reminder of the past. The entity had kept its end of the bargain, granting the ancestor his wish, but at a horrifying cost, a cost that would reverberate through time. The entity wasn't seeking material recompense or worldly treasures. It wanted the wife's soul released from the pact, a soul that had been unjustly bound. It sought to undo the ancestor's betrayal and reunite with the one it had been tricked into separating from, to restore the balance that had been disrupted. Section 8, The Price of Freedom. Amelia now understood. The entity's anger wasn't directed at her, but at her ancestor. It sought to right a centuries-old wrong, and she, the last of her bloodline, held the key to achieving that. The journal hinted at a way to break the pact. A ritual of binding, a reversal of the ancestors' magic. But it was fraught with danger. One wrong step, one misspoken word, and she could be lost forever. Amelia's heart pounded in her chest, a drumbeat of fear and determination. She had a choice to make: run and face the entity's wrath, condemning her own soul in the process, or confront the darkness head-on and attempt to right her ancestors' wrong. Section 9, Bound by Blood. The air crackled with energy, a palpable tension that seemed to vibrate through the very walls of the ancient mansion. The entity watched, its form shifting restlessly in the flickering candlelight, as if it were a part of the shadows themselves, waiting for the right moment to strike. Amelia stood before the altar. The ancestor's journal opened before her, its pages filled with cryptic symbols and ancient incantations. Her hand trembled as she held the silver locket that had belonged to her ancestor's wife, a relic of a time long past, heavy with the weight of history. "I, Amelia, last of my line," she began, her voice echoing in the silent chamber, each word a plea to the spirits that lingered in the shadows, "seek to break the pact forged in this very room centuries ago, a pact that has bound my family in chains of sorrow and despair. A pact made in deceit, sealed with betrayal, a dark promise that has haunted us for generations." The air grew heavy, the shadows pressing closer, as if the mansion itself held its breath, waiting for the outcome of this fateful night. "I offer myself in her place," Amelia continued, her voice gaining strength, fueled by a resolve that burned brighter than the candlelight. "Bind me to the debt, release her soul from this unholy bargain. Let her be free, let her spirit find peace at last." A blinding light filled the chamber, illuminating every corner, as if the very essence of the mansion was being cleansed.